Okay, hope you guys are enjoying yourself in this COVID environment. And this song, The Best You Can. I'm thinking about what's going on with the protests and the COVID. People are losing their jobs, 40 million unemployed. The world is in turmoil. Sometimes it's not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens to you and how you interpret it. And that's not always easy. But that's what this song is about, doing the best that you can. Thank you again for watching, and do the best you can. Except the meaning you give it. Gonna change till you make it and you live it. Prisoners here, none other taking. Gonna learn that life is for making love. place, bending their gods, killing their own human race. Some think there's not enough love to go around. Gonna learn that life is everywhere to be found. There's a bird soaring over a mountain, a moon shining a light in the dark, a rising sun will warm the winds of winter. In the spring the flowers come, yes they do, yes they do. Look around now, the lay of your land. Shape of your thinking is your present hand. No need to worry when you realize the plan. Life is for love and do the best that you can. Nothing has meaning except the meaning you get that. Ain't gonna change till you make it and you live that. Imagine your future, realize your plan. Life is for loving, do the best that you can. Let your love light shine, do the best that you can. Open up your eyes, do the best that you can. Let your love light shine, do the best that you can. Open up your eyes. Let your love light shine. Tell me that I'm this or that. Say I'm too skinny, say I'm too flat, but still I'm gonna let my light shine. Oh, they can have their own opinion, I got mine. about the things I say, 'cause I know it will come back to me in time. It's called the law of attraction. You can have your own opinion, I got mine. We got a right to be different, sure as I stand before you now. We're all the same on the inside, doesn't matter anyhow.
Good morning.
Good evening.
Good afternoon.
Good night.
Wherever your mind is at, we want to just welcome you to Road to Home.
Hi, I'm Mike Meridian. I volunteered here at SOS from about 1973 to 1980. You know, I heard the pitch. It sounded cool. I was kind of a lonely chemistry major looking for friends, and there was a lot of very friendly girls there. I mean, it's terrible, but when you're 19 years old. But everyone was really friendly, and it wasn't the crowd I was used to. I said, yeah, okay, I think this would be helpful for me. So I went through the training. And the training at that time was you came to what was called Empathy Weekend. And what Empathy Weekend was listening to people and reflecting back what they had to say. And I remember the first thing you had to do was come up with a list of feeling words, which sounded weird, I knew chemistry, I knew biology, I didn't know feelings, what's that all about? So that was kind of a sort of a little bit of a breakthrough. I still visualize it very carefully. I know exactly where I was. So I did that, and then they said, okay, then you have to volunteer. I was on the on-call team for a long time. I was on the board for a long time. At one point, we used to get money from the federal government, and the federal government changed their fiscal year from July to October. So there was going to be like 3 or 4 months of no money coming in. And we were on a shoestring anyway. And I got a job as the Washtenaw County drug trainer or something. So I did the lectures to like the police departments and all that kind of stuff. And my pay from that went directly to run SOS. I think Dennis, the director, got a paper route. And everyone else we would do can drives and all kinds of stuff. Well, we weren't going to shut down. We viewed this as like a movement. So it was not a matter of this is a business and it's either going to run or not run. It's if we lost the house, we would do the phones out of our houses, that kind of a thing. So SOS started in one way. So the one thing that's changed is that we've moved from being a phone crisis counseling place to more of a concrete services place. And it grew because the community both needed it and sort of made it happen. It's a grassroots organization, and we've been going on for 50 years. And the one thing that hasn't changed, and I hope stays the same, is the idea of it being community run and a program that's sort of organic from the community. And I hope that's one of the things that run it into the future.
Hi there, welcome. It's so good to see you. We're in the middle of an auto dealership, but we're gonna have a great time, spend a great hour with you. I'm Mike Tirico, this is my wife Debbie. Rhonda Weathers is with us, and Deb will introduce Rhonda in just a second. All of us are really thrilled to be at home with you as the Road to Home takes a unique change in this unique year. It's the Road to Home at home tonight.
Yes, thanks, Mike. We are just thrilled to be here. It's a beautiful night. It's the 50th anniversary for SOS Community Services. And they serve 7,000 individuals per year, and we are so inspired by your work.
And speaking of inspiring and thanks, right away, thanks to Joe Sessi. We're at Sessi Lincoln on Jackson Road in Ann Arbor. There's a sweet ride over there, one of the beautiful new Lincolns, the Nautilus, the Aviator. If you need a car, come check it out. But Joe is such a big part of our community. Thanks to Joe. And Simply Scrumptious. The food looks so amazing. I can't wait to eat it. I know you at home have enjoyed it. But by the way, in that great bag with all the food, there was a little bottle of bubbly. Don't open it, well, maybe you have, but hopefully there's a little bit left. We're gonna have a toast at the end of the night, so keep a little bit for that.
Yep. A big tradition that's been going on for some time is the silent auction of artisan bowls. We auction off bowls for all of us to remember those whose bowls are always empty. So the auction closes at 9, get your bids in, and I'll still have time to bid.
Maybe not. I stole your phone. That's at 9, but until 8, from now until 8 o'clock, we're going to keep you entertained as you enjoy your meal and relax at home. We have some VIPs, not just from the sports world. I have some exclusive conversations with some friends of mine, but also VIPs in the SOS world. And those are the stories I can't wait that we're able to all share with you here tonight.
Yep. And our first VIP, the leader of the organization, is Executive Director Rhonda. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie and Mike. I'm so excited for the program that we have to share with you all tonight, not only here at SESI Lincoln, but also for you joining us from home. We realize that many of the people joining us from home tonight have been longtime supporters of the agency. We thank you for that. We thank you for tuning in this evening, and we thank you because this is one of the most important times that we need your support. With the pandemic that's been going on this year, the need for services through SOS has increased pretty dramatically. We've been seeing over a 30% increase in our requests for food. The need is there. We need to raise support for the programs which we have to meet that need. So let's get started. I'd like to introduce to you all our next performance by some very talented young folks from the Ypsilanti area. They're called Ain't Afraid. They did a little intro at the beginning of the program, but they're going to perform some spoken poetry, some art for you, spoken word poetry, I should say, called Scattered Thoughts. They share a powerful message that speaking to the challenges that many SOS families face on a daily basis. Here's Ain't Afraid.
1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000 scattered thoughts. Dad was never home, and that's his fault. But they treated us like we were locked up too, as if we were found guilty for just being alive. But that's just what it is, isn't it? Scattered thoughts. The things I know. I know what jail cells like, and I know that the canines there are why I'm so scared of dogs. I know that prisons are the only gated communities that I have ever seen. They even got security. Scattered thoughts. The things I know. Every month the food stamp card declined. It was never enough. Dad was never home, only he's locked up, but we were the ones imprisoned by the system, in the system. Scattered thoughts. The things I know. I know that it's hard to get into a homeless shelter unless you got kids. I know that fireworks and gunshots sound the same. I know that it's hard to get Section 8 and that once you get it, you can't let it go until you're fully established, because I know that it's hard to get back. Dad was never home, only he's locked up, but we were the ones imprisoned by the system, in the system. Scattered thoughts, the things I know. I know that they cut food stamps once the eldest child is 18. Or once you make a little more than you used to. I know that in order to keep government assistance, you have to keep up with the new paperwork they give out almost weekly, because Dad was never home. I know Walmart shoes last a good 2 weeks, but we wore them for months. I know that I teach my brothers not to walk with headphones in their ears, because they always have to be aware of their genetic weapon that threatens, called skin. I know what saving snacks from school tastes like. For dinner, Mama wasn't home. Mama was at work because Dad was never home, and that's his fault. But they treated us like we were the ones in prison, so is it his fault? Scattered thoughts, the things I know. Is it his fault that we had to make our beds out of our clothes? Is it his fault we felt like prisoners living in a world where we live like born convicts? I know statistically, as a black youth, I'm 4 times more likely to be incarcerated than my white counterparts. They already treat us like criminals. No wonder our peers don't care to commit crimes. Fact check. As a black youth, I live like I've already been incarcerated. Call us juveniles, because Uncle Sam's American dream for the colored kids is a prison cell. No White House or a white picket fence. But there's a white man in a barbed, wired fence. Scattered thoughts, the things I know. Our daddy's hands feel like glass. At least that's the only way that we ever felt him. Through a clear glass window. Scattered thoughts, the juveniles with clean records. But when they have records, adult prisons. I know that 58% of African American youth are sentenced to adult prisons. Scattered thoughts, I know that 1 in 3 black men are expected to go to prison within their lifetime. That means 1 in 3 of my brothers, uncles, sons, fathers, cousins anticipate going home. Scattered thoughts, the things I know. Dad was never home. And that's his fault. But they treated us like we were locked up too. As if we were prisoners. The juveniles with clean records. 'Cause Dad was never home. The things I know. Wait, man.
That would have been golden, yo.
Boy. What's up? In peace, y'all. I am Strength. And I am Wisdom. And together we are Ain't Afraid. We are a hip-hop, rap, singing, all the arts duo. A multi-talented double dose of dopeness that serves to send positive messages in ways that people will listen. Today, you listen to us perform our piece called Scattered Thoughts, which is a piece we created about 2 years ago to tell part of our story and hold voice for other youth who identify with our experiences.
Well, thank you to Ain't Afraid, a very unique and very powerful way to express their emotions, what they live through, and to tell their story, a real way to connect in storytelling, which is one of the first byproducts of a quality storyteller, right? It's how you do it and how you deliver it. And they do it in such a unique way and did it in a unique space, too. That was videotaped at the SOS Food Pantry. So we thank them for their contributions to our evening. Now, other contributions to the evening will be other messages of hope, messages of support, and messages of a journey. One of those is Brooke Dahlia. We'll have her message coming up in a little bit. She's an SOS board member, and her journey was impacted by the great work that SOS Community Services does. That's going to come up in a couple of minutes. But first, one of our 4 visits with VIPs from the sports world. And this person, you can have your favorite University of Michigan team if you are a Maize and Blue fan, but I will challenge all of you that this person will go down as one of the, if not the greatest coach in University of Michigan history. Well, it is a pleasure to be joined by Carol Hutchins, who, for a few years has been the softball coach at the University of Michigan. So you know this area well, Hutch. I mean, this is almost 4 decades of being around here. What is it about this area, our area, that you feel makes it a special place?
You know, I've been in Ann Arbor almost 40 years, and I came here from just right up the road, which is always so ironic. It's just such a community, and I consider it a town, and where you know everybody. And I feel like when you've been in Ann Arbor County, you don't walk up and down the street without recognizing faces. You walk into all the fabulous local restaurants and people know who you are, and I knew who they are. And honestly, I just feel that it is a warm, close-knit community of diverse folks, but who all love Ann Arbor and really care about each other.
You know, a lot of SOS community service, we're talking about overcoming adversity here for individuals. Can you share with our group how your group has overcome adversity here within COVID-19? Because it hit right as your team was getting ready to get going for a season.
We had just gotten into 23 games away, and it was the weekend of our home opener, which is one of the most exciting things we do, is come home and play in front of our tremendous fan base. You know, the first thing we did is just stop and grieve, because you needed to grieve the loss. But it really, very quickly, we realized that we are all very lucky. We live in a fantastic community. We're part of a great university. We're still a team. We didn't get to do the normal things teams do, but we still hung together and had team activities, even though they were virtual. We had to pivot, as we call it. We pivot and change gears, but our sense was our team needed us, and as coaches, we needed our team. But you just stop and recognize what is good and what is right out there. And this was so much bigger than ourselves. And we always talk about, as a team, you know, the team is the only thing that matters. And our bigger team, which is the community, the world, the United States, was what we needed to do and to do our part. And our kids bought into it. I thought, you know what, you're all resilient. You all have all the tools to get through this. You just have to choose to use them. And everybody has the tools, and we are getting through it and through all the ups and downs. But that's what resiliency is. You use the tools you have and you focus on what you can do.
And a lot of us who are gathered here this evening virtually have kids of different age, deal with the youth of America, the new generation, Gen Z. And wow, have you seen that generation change over 37 years as a head coach? What do you notice about this generation now that gives you hope that even in a dark day, that our tomorrows are going to be better?
I think in the recent years, which now we are into the Gen Z, I think we're going back. The pendulum swings back and forth, and we're going back to kids who are a little more grounded, a little more engaged. I feel like the youth I deal with, we went through a period where they were very consumed with self, but now we have kids who have, especially going through the most recent events of the pandemic, they recognize that you go up every day and attack whatever the problem is and be a solution person. And I feel like we're moving back in that direction. And it's my job as a mentor and an educator to help promote that and help provide that opportunity. But the world needs to be about the world, because in athletics, you can be about yourself. You can be about just your own little world, but we're all here to help make the world a better place.
I've got one last question for you. We've got Coach H in Ann Arbor. It is not Coach Harbaugh. It's not Coach Howard. It's you. You've got more wins than they'll ever think about having, and then some. Can you just talk about what the Michigan experience and everything around the University of Michigan has meant for Carol Hutchins in your amazing Hall of Fame national championship life?
Well, I came here in the early 80s and got to watch the icon of the University of Michigan and everybody's mentor and role model, Bo Schembechler. And watching Bo and then watching Lloyd and everything I learned about coaching, and I certainly learned about Michigan, was from those two guys to start. To me, it's always just been about an opportunity of a lifetime for myself to be at this university, which is at no other place I'd rather ask kids to come and spend 4 years. And really, as I tell them, you don't go to Michigan for 4 years, you go for life. The lifetime experience. Going to college should be the greatest experience of your life. And that's why my mom always said to me, Mike, you never left college. And I said, well, why would you? Why would you leave college? So to be in this Ann Arbor area and to be in the university community with the ability to go to Rackham for concerts or go to Rackham for debates and all the things this university offers, I'm just really the luckiest gal on earth.
Well, we're lucky that you're one of our neighbors and a part of our community. Thank you for a few minutes for a special night for all of us. Hopefully, when the spring comes and things are better, fingers crossed, we'll all be out there supporting your team and watching you take another run at more titles and more banners and shaping the lives of more people. Thanks, Coach Hutch.
My pleasure. Thanks to everybody, and good luck with everything.
That was awesome. Thank you, Coach.
I dropped out my senior year of high school. When I share I have a GED, people are like blown away because it's like, wait, you have a GED and a master's? How does that work? You just keep trucking along and make, those decisions and just keep moving forward, you can really make a good life for yourself. Hi, my name is Brooke Hill, and I am the SOS Community Services Vice President of the Board of Directors and also the Governance Chair. I was 15 years old when I had my son. We actually became homeless my senior year of high school, and so he was 2.5. I said, what are my priorities? Okay, we are on the streets, we're couch hopping. What is my first priority? I always had that motivation and his eyes looking at me to keep moving forward. At that time, I'm working for a fried chicken place, right? But for me, going from the cashier to a relief manager, those were my goals at that time, right? And just getting us off of the streets. We were homeless over a 6-month time period, and times were difficult. There were times when I cried. I would hold his ears just to make sure bugs wouldn't crawl into his ears, because sometimes we would sleep on the floor because we literally were moving with a couple bags of clothes and a sheet. And when I turned 18, I actually started, applying to different apartments, and eventually finally got into an apartment. And my first apartment was in subsidized housing with no furniture. And the first thing that I bought was a washer and dryer, because I always was thinking, as I spent money and as I was budgeting things out, would think, what do we need? What is going to, get us in clean clothes was a priority for us over couches first, right? Looking at him and him watching me was my biggest motivation. He, was my guiding star. So I would block out the judgments, and I didn't let that stop me from going to college. I didn't let that stop me from finishing hair school. I didn't let that stop me from, going to the next level. And that's the message that I find to be the biggest, that when I do talk to young people and when I was working with young people, is that no matter what anyone says, no matter how hard things might get, you can really become whatever you see yourself as. You just have to believe in it and believe in yourself. Now I'm like, what color do I want to paint my walls? Those are simple things like that, but I'll never forget those times. And there was a time where I couldn't even tell this story without crying. With the story about having to hold his ears when he's sleeping at 2-3 years old, just to make sure that, because we were just going from place to place to place, and I just wanted to protect him all the time. And but we made it through. I think it's super important that people understand that just because somebody is homeless, just because somebody is going through hardship, that doesn't mean they've done something bad. That does not mean they're a bad person. That does not mean they should be loved any less or forgotten about. It means they actually need support. They need someone to lean on during that time. SOS fills that gap for so many families and so many young people and so many children as well in the community of Washtenaw.
Brooke, thank you for sharing your experiences with everyone tonight and for your leadership on our board. You've really inspired me and everyone here tonight. I know that many of the parents in SOS's housing programs encounter similar challenges to the ones that you have experienced, and they show the same determination in their efforts. For those watching from home, please know that your donation tonight can help families who are going through many of these same things that Brooke and her son went through. I would like to invite everyone watching to make a gift tonight by logging into ClickBid or by texting SOS to the number 56651 in order to donate. Your donation during Road to Home tonight will be matched dollar for dollar up to $5,000, thanks to another one of our board members, Amy Myers, and her husband, Andrew Stocking. Thank you so much, Amy and Andrew, for making this generous donation. I'd also like to thank our event committee, and this year that committee was chaired by Debbie and Mike Tirico. We had many volunteers on this committee who put in countless hours to make this a very solid event and one that's going to be impactful as well. This has been a record year in fundraising as well. Thanks to Debbie and Mike and that leadership team on the event committee, we've raised more than we've ever raised for this event. We've currently over $193,000. Debbie and Mike are also among our Golden Jubilee sponsors for this event. Other sponsors in this group include the Montag Group, Ann Arbor T-Shirt Company, David Sarnes and Agnes Moy Sarnes, and Ceci Lincoln, who was gracious enough to host us this year for the food distribution. Thank you to our Golden Jubilee sponsors. Our Power Bowl sponsors include the Bank of Ann Arbor, Evangelista and Associates, the Martin Family Foundation, Retirement Income Solutions, Toyota, and Ambassador Ron Weiser and his wife Eileen Weiser. I'd like to thank them as well for their leadership in our community around ending homelessness. You know, it takes a lot of determined people to make a community a better place. Up next, we have a few words from SOS's amazing development director, Barbara Cecil, telling us how Debbie and Mike Tirico have made a difference for SOS families. Just after that, we have a very exciting interview with Mike Tirico and NFL champion Michael Orr about how you really can change your life for the better and improve your community with some determination and a desire to help others.
My name is Barbara Cecil. I am the Development Director at SOS Community Services. I really want to thank Mike and Debbie Tirico for chairing this year's Road to Home event. They have been a wonderful ally for SOS families for so many years. And I remember a time 10 years ago when they signed up for our Sponsor a Family program in order to provide holiday gifts for one family in the program. And they got a wish list where every member in the family listed just a few things they would really like to get this holiday season. And the little girl in the family included on her list that she wanted a twin-sized inflatable mattress. And Debbie called up and she said, "Does this child have a bed?" And the case manager said, "Well, no, she's been sleeping on the floor in a sleeping bag." And so Debbie and Mike went to Art Van and they bought a beautiful bedroom set for this little girl with a bed and a dresser and a matching nightstand, and they had it all delivered to where she was living. And it was such an exciting and happy day for her and for her family and for all of us at SOS. I'm glad that Debbie and Mike Tirico agree that every child should be sleeping at night in her own bed so that they can get the best start to every day and they can give their best to school and to life and to the world. Thank you once again, Debbie and Mike.
Well, that's Michael Orr, first round draft pick, All-American in college football, 110 games in the NFL. He's got a Super Bowl ring too. We could say a whole bunch of sports things about Michael. If you're not a football fan, you may know his story, his life story was a big part of what the movie The Blind Side, which is an Academy Award winning movie, Academy Award nominated movie, I should say, was based on. He deserves one, right? Well, Michael, I'm so glad you joined us here for a couple of minutes. I'd love if you could just share a little bit of your story, because the movie told the theme of your story, but it exaggerated a little bit, as Hollywood can do from time to time. Can you tell us your story as you started out and the struggles that you overcame to become a football star?
Well, it hit on a bunch of things. It got some things correct. I can say that. Being homeless and growing up in poverty and, being a part of the, environment that I was in. And, but I think it built me into the man I am today. And I was just thinking, the other day, that part of my life and growing up in so many tough situations. And I was just thinking, I get asked, man, how did you do it all the time? And, I always, the best answer that I can come up with, man, is the man above, because the situations and the circumstances, they're so tough. And I like to think that, also, I would say that I met him halfway, and I cut out, the things that wasn't going to get me to the place that I wanted to be, the in crowd, staying out of trouble, waking up on my own, going to school, and just setting a pattern for myself that, that was going to carry throughout my journey. And like I said, just meeting them halfway, and you look in the mirror and, people, they're struggling through life and they're just not doing well. And I just, like I said, you got to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, am I meeting whoever's trying to help me halfway, or like I said, the man above halfway. You
Right.
do your part, and it'll get better for you.
We have a lot of folks here who are helping those in need in our community. What can you say to those folks about how important it is, especially at a time like this, we're all going through difficult times now, to be that handout to help so many people get to a place where they can have a tomorrow and a day after that, a day after that?
Yeah, it's extremely important. And I would say, I'm going to do a golf event, charity event tomorrow, and it's a miracle. It's a thing in Nashville. It's a miracle helping to raise money to play for help handicapped and people like that. When they go to golfing and when they go to this complex to play sports, they'll have a place, right? So,
right.
And I would say, I was one of those kids, or I was one of those people that was diagnosed with a learning disability, or with mental health side wasn't there 100% for me. Just like so many people in the streets that's living in the inner cities and the places where I grew up, and with help from people who wanted to lend a hand, and that, just didn't know, man, should I do this, or had doubts about it. I was fortunate enough to get that help, and it was through people, donations, and it was through people just having a big heart and helping me, because I know it's scary, and I go see people all the time, and I'm like, man, I was in that crowd, and I go helping these people, and hey, I can't stereotype the people that's in that crowd, because I know that if that was to happen to me, hey, I wouldn't be here probably. So, it's a huge responsibility on our end, and the people who are willing to give. We have to bridge that gap, and because there's so many people out there in need that's on that bridge that need to be reached.
It's great perspective. Hey, I said they made a movie about you. You're an All-American, Super Bowl champion, really good offensive tackle for 100-plus games in the NFL. There aren't many people walking the face of the earth who can say that. So now what? Tell us what you're doing with your life.
Right now, I'm actually in the process of doing another book. It's called it's kind of a back against the wall kind of book, because I stopped playing. I had got a bad concussion, and my back was against the wall for a while, getting back healthy and things of that nature. And I'm finally back healthy, and I want to, especially in times right now, there's so many people that's in need, don't know where to turn. They don't know that they have, that deep down inside of them that can pull them out of a tough situation like now. And, without having a job, or I don't know where the meal's going to come from. And I just want to encourage them, because I was going to put this in a book, but, I was on a road headed toward 500 pounds, just not too long ago, because of, health issues. But, I fought my way out of it. And I'm on the road now to helping people, like, so many people have helped me. So those are my goals. And I'm also doing a charter school, just bought land down in Miami, Florida, to help do a charter school. I'm doing that right there. Wow. So I'm just, because, that's why I was here, to help people like me. And I just want to continue to give, and, try to change some lives like my life was changed,
Well, you were an inspiring story when people heard your story, and here you are years later, and you're still inspiring people, which is really cool, inspiring us. It's great to catch up with you. I remember covering you at Ole Miss, remember covering you in the NFL. It's good to connect and see you doing well, and I wish you all the best, and shout if we can ever help you, man.
Thank you. I love watching you on Sunday nights, man. I get a joy out of it. I appreciate you guys having me, and God bless, and hope everything goes well.
Michael, that was awesome. Thank you, pal. And I thank Michael for sharing a lot of his story. And I think one of the things that resonates so much with me, and I'm sure with all of us, is how other people with their hand out to pull him up through difficult times is something that resonates with Michael. It's something he's trying to do now. And as Rhonda said, this is a record-setting year for this event in terms of fundraising, and that's because of people like you and a lot of folks who, as we all have had the chance to share the story of what SOS does, they've felt the importance to reach out and try to help as best they could.
And one thing that we can all do tonight, a way to lend a helping hand, is to really to share the story of SOS with friends. And that's exactly what Tim Marshall at Bank of Ann Arbor did. Tim reached out to a friend who has local roots in Ann Arbor and told him that we are so close to reaching $200,000 coming into this event, and would he help out? And Jeff and his friends at Victory Automotive was so inspired by what you do. He said yes. He wants to help local people. So he said yes to get us to a new milestone. And actually, he said more than yes. He said your work is so important and impacts so many people that he wants to set a new milestone. So the folks at Victory Automotive and Jeff would like to donate $100,000 to SOS tonight.
Oh my goodness. So generous, and it's going to make such a difference for the people that we serve. Thank you so much, Victory Automotive, and thank you, Tim Marshall, for reaching out and just sharing the story of the people that we serve.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
Barbara, don't faint over there.
Barbara, who you saw earlier in the video, you can't see her behind the camera, but she's jumping up and down, and as
we
everybody should be.
should.
Thank you,
So-
and thanks to Tim and Emily. You mentioned the Marshalls for helping to share that story and extend out.
A
And
lot
these-
of helping hands, and thank you, Victory Automotive.
Absolutely, and those are the things that, as you said, sharing this story can do for everyone. So we're going to share another story, maybe to inspire more of you, to show you when this money comes in, what it does, and how it helps, and especially in the time of the pandemic, that's been so important. So the money's been going out to help people during this time, and here is the story from Tracy at SOS of how the help from folks has made a difference in the most difficult of times.
So since COVID-19, we are having our food pantry outside. And so folks come to the front door and they check in and they get a list of the items that we have available. Produce and meats and dairy and personal care items. We take it to the back porch for them and get a prepackaged bag of groceries, and they are able to take that home with them. So I'm Tracy Anderson. I am the food pantry and volunteer coordinator at SOS Community Services. I'm sure that some folks were concerned about how were they going to get food throughout this pandemic. It's sad to see people not have access to basic needs. We did not have any point in time where we weren't providing services. We never closed our doors, and we never changed our hours. So folks were able to come in just like they had been before the pandemic. You know, we're doing things a little differently, and so our services never wavered for our consumers, and that was really important for us to make sure that everyone has what they need, regardless of what's happening around us, that something is stable for them. Even the consumers care about each other, and they want to help each other out. Saying, hey, this lady needs a chair, she doesn't look so good, or, you know, this lady has an oxygen tank, can we let her go to the front of the line? If your neighbor can't get out, you can pick up groceries for them. We had a gentleman come to the front door, and he wanted to donate to us. He said, I get Social Security, and I had $20 left over when I pay all of my bills. So I brought it to you. And I was like, I mean, wow, you know, like you have $20, and I was so appreciative, and I was like, thank you very much. We will put this to good use. So, you know, even folks who maybe don't have a whole lot to give are willing to give whatever they have, and we still have to help people. So we still have to be here. We still have to do what we do.
Thanks, and welcome back. You know, we're just blown away here, quite frankly. Was not expected. We didn't know that was coming, and we're so thankful to everyone involved in securing that donation. And thank you again to Victory Automotive for understanding the work, the importance of the work that we do, and understanding how much this will really help to serve the people who are suffering the most during this pandemic. I want to thank Tracy for sharing with everyone how we've had to adjust our services during this pandemic, and how we're working to meet the increased need that we're seeing as well. We couldn't do what we do without the support of our community partners, and we want to talk a little bit tonight about some of those small businesses and some of the community partner agencies that really help us to meet the increased need and serve the people that come through our doors. First of all, we'd like to thank Kroger for sponsoring and for boosting their charitable giving during this pandemic. We also want to thank Ann Arbor T-Shirt Company and Main Street Ventures for being sponsors of Road to Home, as well as providing some much needed supplies to frontline workers. At Ann Arbor T-Shirt Company, they started producing face shields and donated many of them to local nonprofits who needed them for frontline workers. And at Main Street Ventures, they did boxed lunches for frontline workers who are helping to serve the community. We'd also like to honor several of our nonprofit partners. The first one that we're going to talk about is Washtenaw Literacy. And Washtenaw Literacy partners with SOS's Parents as Teachers program to serve families with children under the age of 6. As these families have been encountering virtual schooling, many of the parents in that program have, expressed their desire to become more literate themselves so that they can help their children with virtual learning. So thank you so much to Washtenaw Literacy for partnering with our Parents as Teachers program. It's been a great success, and we look forward to moving forward with that. Food Gatherers has been a longtime partner of SOS's food pantry, and we thank them for their efforts to end hunger in Washtenaw County. They've stepped up during this pandemic to increase resources to all of the pantries that they serve, and just thank you so much, Food Gatherers. Packard Health is an Ypsilanti neighbor to SOS. They've been critical in providing invaluable services to many of the families that we serve. They've even been providing telehealth services to many of the families who need mental health services. So it's been a life-saving effort for many of the people in our programs. Thank you, Packard Health. We'd also like to recognize the Washtenaw County Sheriff's Office. So they've been doing a lot of first response efforts during the pandemic, and they've been helping to distribute food boxes to families who need them in Ypsilanti. Thank you so much to the Sheriff's Office. And finally, we'd like to recognize Tim Marshall and the Bank of Ann Arbor for his leadership on our event committee, for sponsoring the audio-visual portion of our Road to Home event tonight. And Bank of Ann Arbor has been processing more payroll protection plan loans than any other bank in Washtenaw County. Many of those loans to SOS's nonprofit partners. It's invaluable to help us stay afloat during this pandemic. So thank you also for maintaining your commitment to charitable giving during such a difficult economy. Thank you all for our honorees tonight. Without you providing the services that you do, SOS would not be able to do what we do. So we recognize that. So now it's time for another interview with Mike and a guest who should be familiar to many of you.
Well, that's one of the most familiar faces in media, period. Journalist, radio, television, screenplay, prolific author. The stat about Mitch Albom that I love, that I stumbled across, 40 million copies of your books have been sold. When you hear that, Mitch, like, what does that do to a guy who's at one point was just one of those sports writers banging out a column in a press box after a game?
I still pretty much think of myself that way. I think when you were forged, your years in your 20s, when you're coming up, are kind of who you always are in your career. And, the success that you're referencing really didn't start for me until Tuesdays with Maury. I was 37. So up till that point, I had a lot of years as a failed musician, a lot of years as a very small-time sports writer before anything happened, for me big in that. So I kind of got used to it, and I'm astounded by those numbers myself. It blows my mind, especially the languages, 47 languages. I have books in my office that I don't recognize that I wrote. they have my name spelled in whatever the phonetic thing is in that language. And I say, oh, I guess I wrote that book.
Hey, can we just share with everyone a little bit about Tuesdays with Maury? Because every time I hear somebody reference that book or I see that book somewhere, I think of the days before the Tuesdays, because at that time we were starting a Monday Night Football pregame show on ESPN. I was the host. Mitch was one of the writers contributing a version of the TV sports reporters for the NFL on Mondays. And that was in our studios in Connecticut. And those Mondays were followed by your Tuesdays with Maury, right?
It's a very little known fact that the reason that Tuesdays were the day that Tuesdays were with Maury is because I was already in Connecticut on Mondays. And so at least in the fall part of the season, not the summer and the spring, I was able to piggyback onto that. So I'd come in, do the show on Monday night, and then drive down to Boston and start the day with Maury on Tuesday there. So he never, by the way, ever mentioned that program in any of them.
Of course.
He didn't have cable, so he wasn't able to pick it up.
It's so funny. Can I ask you about your most recent book and endeavor that I thought was really fascinating way to go about things during the pandemic? Human Touch. You were releasing a chapter per week, pretty much, almost as people were living through the COVID. How do we get to next week? How do we get to next week? You were giving everybody a little bit of a dessert waiting for them as you got to the end of the week. How did the idea come about?
Well, you know, you live outside of Detroit. I live just outside of Detroit, and we know that Detroit was hugely hit by COVID-19. I mean, really bad. So I knew I needed to do something. I have charities that I operate in Detroit. But, you know, the quickest way to raise money, everybody was scrambling there, you know, in the typical ways and the Red Cross ways. And so I said, well, what do I do that's of any value? And I thought, well, I write books and people like to get the books. So I said, all right, I'm going to write a book for free. I don't want to charge for it. I'm going to write a book for free. My wife, Janine, just stepped in here.
Hi, Janine.
Yeah. And hey, it's live. You know what?
Real life. I can't beat it.
Never know who's coming in. Yeah, I know, honey. Sorry.
It's okay.
Hey, you want front row? You got front row. Okay.
2020. It's 2020.
Yeah, exactly. So I said, well, I'll just write a book a week at a time. I'll put it up online for free, and I'll just ask people for donations because I didn't want to charge for it. Everybody was hard for money back then, and I didn't have time to think up a big plot or put it all through. So I said, well, let's just look at the world around. I'll set it in the world of COVID. I picked one imaginary street corner where there were 4 houses on the street corner and the families inside the 4 houses and how they had interacted in the past, having all these social get-togethers and everything, and how the world changed for this one street corner as COVID-19 came in. And literally, I was writing it 1 week ahead of when it came out. So people would ask me, how's this thing going to end? I said, I don't even know what next week's going to happen. You know, and I did that for 2 months, and it was nerve-wracking. It's hard to write a novel that way, but it was very much of the moment. And there were things that happened in the news that ended up in the novel the next week. Then Audible ended up doing the audio of it, and there's a little 8-year-old Haitian who figures very prominently in the story. And it just so happens that an 8-year-old Haitian was staying at our house from the orphanage that I operate. And so he would sit on my lap and we would read the book. I would read all the voices. And when it came to the 8-year-old Haitian boy, which I cannot do very well, he would read the part of little Moses, the big characters in there. So it turned out to be a delightful thing. And it made about $250,000 for Detroit, all of which we've spent in Detroit.
Just one more question about your philanthropy, and then I'll end with something else. Say Detroit has been a real passion play for you. And as we're talking here about our area in Washtenaw County and raising funds and helping people who are homeless, who need a hand up at this point, all of those things, can you just talk about what the impetus for Say Detroit was and what you see as the payoff, the emotional payoff for you as you've seen the many people in downtown Detroit that you've been able to impact with Say Detroit?
Well, the impetus for Say Detroit is simple. It happened during the Super Bowl, of all things, when they were taking the homeless off the street and shoving them into a shelter so that they wouldn't bother the people who were coming from out of town. And then on Monday, they were going to put them back out in the street. And I just thought that was so cruel that I spent the night at a homeless shelter to write a column about what it was like. And while I was online at the homeless shelter, waiting for the meal, a guy turned around and looked at me and he looked me up and down. He said, "Aren't you Mitch Albom?" And I said, "Yeah." And then he looked me up and down again. He said, "What happened to you?" And, you know, after I kind of chuckled, I realized, you know what? That's an absolutely fair question. All those people who are online there, that was back in 2006, you know, when the economy was really starting to turn bad. A lot of them never figured to be on that line, and now here they were. And so I wrote a column about it. I raised some money. I raised way more money than I thought I was going to raise. And I said, well, what do I do with this? And I formed this thing called Stay Detroit, and it's grown from that column to we now run, it's a multi-million-dollar operation every year. We run 9 separate operations in the city of Detroit, everything from daycare centers all the way up to senior centers to a rec center that is a digital learning center as well, to the nation's first medical clinic for homeless children that was free of charge. Now we run COVID centers out of that same medical clinic. And what it's shown me, Mike, is I mean, you know, I think I was always sensitive to the things that went on in Detroit, but this threw me into the middle of the things that went on in Detroit. I am at the medical center. I am at the rec center. I am at the houses that we build that we give away to people. And when you're there and you're talking to everybody, you're ground zero of where the problems are. You don't pretend that there's somebody else's problems. This is our city, so there are problems, and that's what Stay Detroit's about.
And that's what a lot of the people who are with us tonight are doing. It's our community and trying to do what they can here in Washington County. And we appreciate people like you and the people who are with us tonight. All right, let's get you out on the question that I get around town. Which Detroit sports team is closest to winning a championship? And you can't say none of them.
Do we have a field hockey team? Maybe, is there one? I would say the Lions, except they're just never going to do it in my lifetime. You said championship, you know.
Wait. So you believe that now? You feel like the vortex of it's going to bad. It's going to happen bad for the Lions.
I'm on the other side of the hill, Mike. I'm on the mountain. It's not in my lifetime. Maybe the next generation. So I would say, the Red Wings, only because I see how you can build hockey teams. The team that just won the Stanley Cup was built by the guy who's now in Detroit.
Yes.
And they have an ownership that will spend money. And so in Stevie, we trust. And I think it's harder to do it in baseball. You're not going to wait for your farm system to develop. And basketball, I just don't think players want to come here right now. I mean, it's such a free agent world. Look at the Lakers. They're constructed of guys who left their teams and went to go play there. So I'd say the Red Wings, but I mean, considering the Red Wings didn't even make the restart, we got a ways to go.
By a wide margin, they were 20 points worse than anybody else. We didn't finish the season. So, well, if you believe in hope, then believe in what Mitch just said. The cool thing of the last 20-something years of getting to know you and then being here in Metro Detroit is how great you are about always being willing to pick up the phone and help anybody at any time. And thanks for all the times you've helped us. Thanks for joining us tonight. And we wish you and the family all the best.
Ditto to you, Mike. And thanks for the good work SOS does in the Ann Arbor community there. I'm aware of it, and it's quite something, and I appreciate you're doing it. And I'm happy to support it anyway.
Thank you very much, pal. Well, thank you to Mitch, who is so talented and so giving as well. Anytime you ask for a favor, Mitch is always there to chip in and really has an appreciation for our area and helping out the people in our area, as you heard. So a big thank you to Mitch.
Yep. And thank you to everyone out there who's bidding. Continue to bid and bid high, and the auction will close at 9 o'clock. All right, we have one more guest to share with you before a toast and a celebration to end our night. So that champagne that we mentioned, you may want to open it up and get it ready, because I know nobody's opened it up yet. I'm going to open it up.
Maybe not. One more guest from the sports world. It is an Olympic gold medalist from our area. Well, it's really good to see Allison Schmidt's face, because it's a familiar face. Allison spent most of her time growing up in our area in Canton, and then has gone on to be a swimming legend in the Michigan Hall of Fame. You're too young, Schmitty, to be in a Hall of Fame, but 8 Olympic medals, including 4 gold medals, the last 3 Olympic Games. What have you been up to during this pandemic?
Thank you. It's great to see you. It's great to see any faces, especially yours, always so bright and happy. So. Great to see you.
Same here.
It's definitely been hard during this pandemic. I'm sure it is for everyone, no matter what your situation or case is. It's a time that is full of so many unknowns, which as humans, I feel like we're we are easily able to adapt, but adapt into an unknown is a whole new world that I know that I'm not skilled in, but I'm learning how to, and it's been nice to have those closest to me as a support system and leaning on each other. Sometimes I just need a hug.
I think we all do. I think we all feel exactly what you're feeling. So can you share with everyone, obviously 3 Olympic Games, that's incredible. People are blessed to go to 1. You've been to 3 and medaled at them, but you kept the dream alive hoping for Tokyo 2020. With the games pushed back to 2021, has that changed your plan at all?
Thank you. I appreciate it. And even though the date has changed, I think I'm very grateful that the date has been postponed and not canceled. So even with the date being changed, my goals are still the same, and I'm looking forward to next summer now. It's definitely going to be a different year than expected, but like I said earlier, it's just full of a bunch of unknowns, so just going with the flow.
You're an inspiration to a lot of people. I mean, if you think of all the people who swim in our area, I mean, you are one of the Club Wolverine alums, right? You talk about people as a young kid who started doing this stuff and have evolved to the highest spot in the world. What is it like to reach your goals? Because if you get in a pool and you're young, you say, maybe someday I can swim in the Olympics. And you did, and you won gold medals. What is that like?
Thank you. I think I might still be wrapping my head around that one. Because once we reach one goal, I know we're always have that next goal, and we're never satisfied, which keeps us alive, keeps life interesting. So just to be able to be in the sport still, and my body's able to keep up and still do the training. And I mean, there's times that I feel stronger and faster than I did 10 years ago. So wow. Having that confidence, I'm just really grateful to be able to stay in it and continue this passion of mine. I know that throughout lifetimes, people have many different passions, and just being able to, sport is not going to be there forever, but right. The lessons are going to be there forever, and the people you meet through sport are going to be there forever. So that's really just what I'm cherishing, is being grateful that I am still able to continue this passion of swimming.
Schmitty, we talked a couple of years ago, and it was right at a point that you were becoming very public, really honest about the mental challenge for athletes. And Michael Phelps, who is a great friend of yours, has helped you talk about that a little bit. You know, we watch athletes and we just marvel at what you all do, but we don't see the really quiet and difficult times, like all the hours you put in a pool. When we're taping this right now, you just came from another double session of practice today. How have you found your adjustment to the mental part of what you do and build up for, and then the reality afterwards that, okay, everything I build up for is done, and now I've got to find a way to motivate myself and get myself through every day without that little carrot coming in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a whole experience. It's like I said earlier, it's relying on those closest to you, relying on your support system, and understanding that life is a much bigger game than any sport we've ever played. I think that you can relate to that. People watch TV and they think that's all rainbows and butterflies, happy and joy. But right. Anyone, even on Instagram, even on social media, you're able to pause for a split second, smile, and make your life look amazing. But what we're able to do by speaking out about it is let everyone else understand and hopefully grasp that everyone's human, and we all go through the ups and downs of life, and even through the downs of life, we can still reach our goals and our potentials.
I mentioned that you grew up in the area in Canton, and before I let you go, can you just talk about what this area has meant to you as you were growing up, and then when you come back after having success at the Olympics, what has growing up around here meant to you?
Oh, Michigan's always home. Even out here living in Arizona, it's October right now, and here we are. I'm saying I miss apple picking. I miss the apple cider donuts. There's so much of Michigan that will always be home. Standing behind the blocks, I know that I'm saying from Allison Schmidt from Canton, Michigan. That means a lot to me because I know that everyone has helped me get to where I am at that stage. It's not just me standing up on that blocks, but it's everyone behind me, the whole support system, everyone from back home. I hear all those cheers every time I get up on the blocks. And to come home from an Olympics or come home from a World Championships and to see all those, the whole community that has cheered for me, it's a complete honor to be a part of that. And like I said, Michigan will always be home.
Well, let's do one more homecoming in August of 2021 after Tokyo. Good luck competing. I know you're heading off to start competing again. It's been a long time since you've been able to do that. Good luck with that. We'll be following you, and hopefully we'll get to see you before then, but certainly let's fingers crossed connect in Tokyo in 2021. Thanks, Schmitty.
Thank you so much. Great to see you.
Well, thank you to Allison Schmidt, who actually, after that interview, left the next day for Budapest, Hungary, where she's starting her road back to the Olympics. And Carol Hutchins and Mitch Albom and Michael Orr, thanks to the folks who joined us and made the conversation enjoyable for the last hour or so. And it's been a wonderful evening, to say the least.
It has, and I want to thank Mike and Debbie. You've just done a tremendous job as our event chairs. And I want to thank all of you at home for the generous donations that have come in during the event, and reminder that the event is open until, or the bidding is open until 9. This is our most successful event ever, and it comes at a wonderful time because there's so much need out there due to the pandemic. I just want to thank once again SOS's board of directors, our amazing staff who works so hard day in and day out, especially our development team for pulling this event together, Barbara Cecil and Carly Kleinhans. So thank you so much. I want to thank all the people in our programs who are, I just want you to know that I'm so overwhelmed still with the $100,000 thing. But, you know, all of this really is about helping the people who are most in need in our community. And I'm so proud to be a part of this community where people come together to help those who are most vulnerable. So thank you so much, and we're going to throw it back over to Debbie with the final event total for this evening.
Yes, and Joe, thank you. It's been such a wonderful night. It started off with a beautiful sunset, and we're leaving here with a lot of smiles, a lot of joy. Thank you, Joe, for letting us be here. And it's time to raise those glasses, and the event total for tonight, up until this point, is $311,975. So congratulations and thank you so much.
Congratulations to everyone who was involved. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
Rhonda, cheers.
Rhonda,
everyone,
cheers.
Socially distant cheers to everyone. And thank you for being a part of this. I've broadcast from a lot of places. I've never broadcast live from an auto dealership, but SESI Lincoln is the best darn place to do that. I'll tell you that. Joe, thanks to you and all the people in the community who make a difference. It's an honor to be associated with all of you and so many good neighbors. So thanks for hanging with us for the Road to Home at home. Let's hope we do it in person next year. But thanks for making this one of a kind, one event that we will never forget. Thanks. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay, hope you guys are enjoying yourself in this COVID environment. And this song, the best you can. I'm thinking about what's going on with the protests and the COVID. People are losing their jobs, 40 million unemployed. The world is in turmoil. Sometimes it's not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens to you and how you interpret it. And that's not always easy. But that's what this song is about, doing the best that you can. Thank you again for watching, and do the best you can. Except the meaning you give it. Gonna change till you make it and you live it. Prisoners here, none other take it. Gonna learn learn that life is for making love. Hurting people, lines on their face, bending their gods, killing their own human race. Some think there's not enough love to go around. Gonna learn that life is everywhere to be found. There's a bird soaring over a mountain, a moon shining light in the dark, a rising sun will warm the winds of winter. In the spring the flowers come, yes they do, yes they do. Look around now, the lay of your land. Shape of your thinking is your present hand. No need to worry when you realize the plan. Life is for love and do the best that you can. Nothing has meaning except the meaning you get that. Ain't gonna change till you make it and you live that. Imagine your future, realize your plan. Life is for loving, do the best that you can. Let your love light shine, do the best that you can. Open up your eyes, do the best that you can. Let your love light shine, do the best that you can. I'm too skinny, say I'm too flat, but still I'm gonna let my light shine. Oh, they can have their own opinion, I got mine. 'Cause I ain't hurting anybody, not in any way. Yes, I'm always careful about the things I say, 'cause I know it will come back to me in time. It's called the law of attraction. You can have your